Are you what they call underemployed? And what does that really even mean? Or are you just having to pay your dues? Well, let's find out right now. Hey everyone, this is Jason from Sapphire Leadership Advisors, and I wanted to talk about this term underemployment. With the economy the way it's been getting lately, this term is getting floated around more and more, and I think it's important to understand what this term really means, because it's going to mean different things depending on who's talking about it and in which context they're using. So let's first figure out, what does it mean to be underemployed, and is that really you? So there's three different scenarios that we're going to talk about in terms of determining whether or not you're underemployed. So if you feel like you're underemployed, which one of these scenarios do you fall into? The first scenario is that you've been trained in a certain field, you have experience, and let's just say that we're talking marine biology. So you've been trained as a marine biologist, you've worked as a marine biologist before, but now you're having a difficult time finding a job in that field, and so you're having to take a job working at Walmart stocking shelves. Now, that is definitely underemployment. The second scenario is that you've got a good amount of education, you've got training, but you have very little to no experience in the actual field. But you feel like the position that you're working right now, even though it's in the field, you feel like it's below what you deserve for your education level. Now, this, my friends, is entitlement. And this is not underemployment. You have to pay your dues. That's usually, you start at the bottom. When you're in a new field, a new career, you've got to start at the bottom and you've got to work your way up. The third scenario that I want to focus on is a little bit tricky. This is a situation where you're in the field that you were trained in, you have experience, but you're doing the job at one level in the organizational hierarchy, but you're being paid at a lower level. Some common scenarios for this are a senior manager who's essentially doing the job of a director but still has the pay and the title of a senior manager. Or one level up from that, a director who still has the director title and pay but is essentially doing the work of a VP. Now, there's two ways to look at this. A more productive way and a less productive way. Now, the less productive way is to blame the company and complain about the fact that you're being treated unfairly and that you're doing all this extra work and you should be compensated for it, etc., etc. The more productive way to look at this is to consider this the perfect opportunity for on-the-job training for your next promotion. When I was a senior manager, I was actually able to bypass the director level completely and go to a vice president. And the reason that this was possible is because I started off early on knowing that that's where I wanted to go and trying to emulate the behaviors of the current VPs, figure out what their successes were, what kind of things they dealt with on a daily basis. Rather than kind of burying my head in my own department and just being concerned about, my department and how it's running, I got that efficient. And then I started looking at how VPs behaved, how they, looked at things differently than I did. And so when it finally came time to discuss a promotion, they offered me the vice president position, and they said, well, it's because you've effectively already been doing this job. So I would encourage everybody, the next time you're in a situation where you feel like, the position that you have and the pay that you've been given is lower than the level that you're actually working at, consider that a great opportunity to be able to demonstrate to your peers, to your boss, the fact that you can operate at that higher level. And so when you actually go in to have that conversation with your boss about your next promotion, you've got all that ammunition to say, look, I've already been operating at this level, so the risk is very little. I can just step right in and start taking over responsibilities. So for these three scenarios, I would really only consider the first one as truly underemployed. And, how to deal with being truly underemployed, we'll save that as the topic for another video. But for this video, I really just wanted to define what underemployment truly means and how sometimes you may think that you're actually underemployed, but really it's a blessing in disguise.